Scat music, using your voice as an instrument, improvisation, singing and playing what you feel, an American creation made right here in America. But just like the trade winds blow, music travels geographically. Most American music styles, whether it's gospel, blues, soul music, rock and roll, jazz, hip hop, can be traced back to the mighty kingdoms of West Africa. In my experience teaching an African American cultural humanities course, it occurred to me, education would be so much more exciting if this class was taught in every high school in America. Imagine tracing the history and travels of West African music all around the globe for the past 400 years, but really understanding how music has brought us together in some of our most troubling times. My grandmother, Ruby Lee, was born in 1922. So that would make her in her early 20s, that would put her about the 1940s, World War II. And I get so excited when I rediscover her every time I teach history. And I get to teach what was going on in her life, socially, economically, politically. And the key to that understanding has been the geographic movement of music. West African music traveled west across the Atlantic Ocean with the kidnapped and enslaved Africans to the southern plantations in America. And these Africans use oral expression, the tradition of communicating how you feel, to teach us the social and emotional devastation of this system. And this turns into blues music, gospel music, and the early beginnings of jazz music. These new music styles travel north with millions of African Americans leaving the Dixie South and sharecropping behind and coming north looking for better jobs and opportunities in northern industrial cities. And of course, we brought the music with us. And yes, my grandmother, Ruby Lee, was part of this great migration, leaving Little Rock, Arkansas, and relocating to Southeast Michigan. Then fast forward to the 1950s and 1960s. It's difficult for Black women during this time to get jobs in the North. Most times they work as domestics in the homes of well-to-do white people. It's a little different for African American men, like her brother George, who's able to join the armed forces. World War II contributed to Black and white soldiers, especially in Paris, France, being in integrated jazz clubs and music spaces, even though they left the United States under the shadow of segregation. Some of these African Americans felt it was more free in Paris, not perfect, but more free, and decided to stay, even though the war was over. But for the Black and white soldiers that return home because of jamming and grooving together, they create spaces in America where they can once again integrate. The 1950s and 60s, one of the most challenging periods of our history, images of the civil rights movement flash across the TV screen. Enter soul music, a music of expression, a music of emotion, pleading with the heart and soul, asking for the population to join in. And this soul music contributes to the civil rights movement being multicultural and integrated in the fight for equality and justice. Music stations segregated music based on skin color. So it was difficult for young white kids to hear Black music. They had to sneak. and listen late at night, unless they were a child in a home where my grandmother was a domestic and she had to change the radio station from Perry Como and Frank Sinatra to her favorites, Chuck Berry and Ray Charles. Today, hip hop and rap music, Business Insider magazine says is the #1 genre of music in the United States. And it can also trace its origins to the West African griot, the historian, the linguist, the musician and storyteller who tells the history to the people. Hip hop and rap music burst onto the scene in the 1970s from the urban inner cities and housing projects. And it didn't take long before young white suburban kids were the #1 consumer of this music. And Eminem stepping across 8 Mile because the hip hoppers Run DMC and the rockers Aerosmith told them to walk this way. And this leads to an explosion of hip hop and rap being a global expression of emotion. What will be the next style of music? What will be the next style of music that brings us together? We need it now, we need it today more than ever. Thank you.